Now it's time for Lefties Losing It. Do you ever feel like you are multiple genders every day, all the time? Well, that's totally fine. It's totally valid.
I am trigender, which means like a triangle, I have 3 genders. Male, female, and non-binary. And the difference between trigender and gender fluid is that I feel all 3 of these genders at the same time, all the time. It doesn't ever shift or change, or where I feel one gender more strongly than the other, like gender fluid tends to be. Also, I should recognize and accept that a lot of people don't see non-binary as a third gender. They see it as something completely separate from the binary of male and female. But for me, it's like a third gender, or I guess you could call it a third identity.
Yes, you keep telling yourself that. Now to the woke DEI madness engulfing the LA Fire Department. And here is the most critical, up-to-date breaking news we've all been waiting for.
My name is Captain Jennifer Wilcox. My pronouns are she, her. I am a Caucasian female wearing a black shirt uniform with eyewear and a black hat.
Well, good to know we've established that. I can really rest assured now that I know what your pronouns are and what you are wearing in the middle of a fire. Thank you so much for that. I mean, seriously, I don't care if you're they, them, cat, cats, stars. I think anyone sane would only care about whether you could actually do a good job in the event of a fire. It's a simple concept, really. Now to the pin-up boy for stupidity, Gavin Newsom, a man who is nothing but his hair. So, thank goodness, his weird shoulder gesticulations have been turned into an AI meme. Yeah, it's got quite a ring to it, doesn't it? But I suspect, though, that this might top it. Here is the meme featuring the woke characters of the bushfire crisis.
All the homes are gone.
All the homes are gone.
Because of climate change.
Because of climate change.
When the fires are
out.
I'll build a brand new LA.
I'll build a brand new LA.
Here's $700.
Here's $700.
Land grab is underway.
Land grab is underway.
California's
burning.
And the fire department's gay. Looters in the streets. Illegals on the way. Well, I went to fight the fire. But there's no water today.
There's no water today.
Spotify, please make that a song. That's the best thing I've seen on the internet this year. Now, it wouldn't quite be a Lefties Losing It without the chief loon herself. Of course, it is, drumroll, MSNBC's Joy Reid. Boy, does she outdo herself every time. Because now she's claiming the Republicans have politicised the California fires and have ulterior motives for the rest of the country.
They can drill and frack California till the fires this past week pale in comparison. They can rip out all the forests and hand over the land to developers, Florida style. They can drive out the brown people and the black and Asian people, or just sink them into the same apartheid they've created in Texas. And they will control enough electoral votes if they control California to never have to worry about another presidential election.
Ah, poor Joy. She's really lost it, hasn't she? And the tolerant left, they're also harmonious and peaceful. Negotiators have reached a deal to end the conflict between Israel and Hamas. The ceasefire is set to be staged over 6 weeks and will see Israeli forces pull out of the Gaza Strip and hostages freed back to their families in return for Palestinian prisoners. Now, this is a significant development in the conflict, but also comes just days before Donald Trump's inauguration. And a reminder, here is the warning Trump gave Hamas.
If those hostages aren't back, I don't want to hurt your negotiation. If they're not back by the time I get into office, all hell will break out in the Middle East.
Can you elaborate?
And it will not be good for Hamas, and it will not be good, frankly, for anyone. All hell will break out.
And Donald Trump has since posted to social media saying, "We have a deal for the hostages in the Middle East." Now, despite the progress, Joe Biden is taking all the credit.
Thank you.
Brooks, credit for this, Mr. President, you or Trump?
Is that a joke? Oh, thank you.
Joining me now is journalist and filmmaker Ami Horowitz. Ami, good to see you. Thanks for joining me. This is a massive step forward, the first real promising step since October 7. How important is this moment, and do you think it is indeed a good deal?
Yeah, no, Mr. President, that wasn't a joke. You're a joke. If you think for a second you're going to take credit for what happened here, you're insane. Look, there's a concept in American sports. I assume in Australian sports also, but I don't know what kind of sports you guys play. What is that, like Australian rules baseball or something? There's a thing called trash talking, right? The idea that you'll use words to get into the head of your opponent, and that when you use those words, it affects their behavior, and you changes their behavior because they're scared, particularly if you can back it up, right? You're going to push them to your will because the words that you use. This is classic trash talking, right? When the president says all hell is going to break loose, his opponents say, what does he mean? What is he talking about? And they had 4 years of his presidency, and they know that he can back it up. So this is what we're talking about. Also, in January 26, 1900, Teddy Roosevelt wrote a letter to Henry L. Sprague, a congressman from Boston. And in that letter, he used the immortal words, "Speak softly and carry a big stick," right? I don't know if you guys Australians know that, but all Americans know that phrase. Now, Trump has turned that on his head. He speaks loudly and carries a big stick. This is what you're seeing. You're seeing today the Trump effect, right? Everybody's saying it over and over again. It is absolutely 100% demonstrably true. And not just with the hostages, right? We had over a year of an ineffective president who could not get the hostages released. And now he gets elected and all of a sudden they're released. There's no connection. You've got to be a crazy person not to think that. But what you see now is a Trump effect across the board, right? So you see, for example, when it comes to Denmark, I think it's a great example. I think people are talking about how crazy he is. Oh my God, we're going to try to acquire Greenland. Well, guess what? Because of his verbosity, what does Denmark agree to do? Now they're saying, hey, you know what? We're actually going to increase our funding and our attention on Greenland so we can counter-effect the Chinese and the Russians. Exactly what Trump meant to happen through his trolling. Now, your question about whether or not this is a good deal or not is, look, this is very difficult to assess. First of all, we're in early days. Second of all, look, we're here, they're in there, right? The prime minister, the Israelis, they're involved in day-to-day. It's their hostages. It's difficult for us to opine on whether or not it's a good deal. I would just say this. Look, you have to understand the downsides before you go in. I think a way to assess the downside is looking at the Gilad Shalit deal that was made. Gilad Shalit was an Israeli soldier who was held for a few years. And they essentially released dozens, actually hundreds, of Palestinian terrorists, people with blood on their hands, similar to what this deal we're having now. And 2 years after that deal was made, Israeli security forces had stopped over 40 attempted terrorist attacks by those particular people. Over a dozen people were actually murdered in 2 years later, directly by the people who were released. And like people have been saying, one of the people who were released, by the way, then was Yahya Sinwar, who, of course, was the mastermind behind October 7th. So as you have to understand there is a downside. I have no question the Israelis understand that. But look, at this point in time, obviously, I don't want to blunt the celebration of the Israelis. It's a wonderful thing. There are American hostages who are coming back. We have to celebrate that. But to think that this was a victory solely or at all by President Biden, it just doesn't make any sense.
No, and just to pick you up on that, I mean, you mentioned the Trump effect. There's no doubt that Trump's had a huge influence. He has been warning Hamas for weeks, and yet the White House is still refusing to acknowledge Trump. Have a look at this.
How like if the State Department briefed our colleagues that President Trump was critical in getting this deal over the line. Do you not agree with that statement?
I mean, look, I'm not going to speak to a random person.
Your colleague.
I don't know who this person is. I'm not going to. Oh.
I can't wait to never see this White House press secretary ever again. I mean, she's just absolutely deluded. But the reality is what has Biden been doing for the last 14 months? And not to mention all of the policies that he has implemented, it has done nothing to help Israel out.
I don't think he knows what he's been doing for the last 14 months. So you expect me to know what the man's been doing? No, I love that random person, and you can hear them. Literally, she's your colleague. Look, delusional is the right word. Delusional has been really what this entire presidency has been, one long delusion. Thank God it's over. Look, Danica, I want to disagree with you. I feel terrible. I'm not going to see her again. She was wonderful. She gave me so much, I don't know what I'm going to talk about going forward for the next year. She made up literally 25% of my content. So I don't know what I'm going to be talking about.
What will you do now, Army? Well, who else are we going to talk about now? Exactly. Gosh, good riddance, though, I say. Now, look, let's move on because it's been another day of Donald Trump's picks absolutely shutting down dumb senators during confirmation hearings. Pete Hegseth performed brilliant yesterday, but now it was Attorney General nominee Pam Bondi's turn, and I think she nailed it. Here she is turning the tables on Democrat Adam Schiff.
I'm asking you, sitting here today, whether you are aware of a factual predicate to investigate Liz Cheney.
Senator, no one has asked me to investigate Liz Cheney. That is a hypothetical. We're also worried about Liz Cheney, Senator.
The president has
You know what
called
we
for
should be worried about?
Ms. Bondi, please answer my questions.
California right now
You are
is
aware,
through the roof.
Ms. Bondi,
Your robberies are 87% higher than the national average.
My question is this.
That's what I want to be focused on, Senator.
Do you have the power to say no to the president?
General.
And, Army, funnily enough, this is the very same dopey man who happens to sleep, doze off during hearings himself. How dumb are these Democrats, Army?
I mean, if only him dozing off was the only thing that Adam Schiff did, I think we'd be in a better position for this country. Look, the richness of the Democrats attacking Pam Bondi, asking her if she's going to do the dirty work for the president is so clear and so rich. And for Adam Schiff, the tip of the spear of creating and the weaponization of the Justice Department, to have him, I mean, does he have no shame to go up there and grill Pam Bondi's issue? This is what this man did for 4 years. The Russia hoax over and over again, the weaponization of all of these structures of our government that he and the Democrats had put to use against President Trump. I mean, have they no shame? They not have mirrors in their homes? It's ridiculous. No, she did school them. How do I know that? Because after that fiery exchange you just played, on the second half of Adam Schiff's questions, he was far different. He's a different person, quieter, more respectful. When she turned it around and said, yeah, maybe you should spend more time worrying about the crime in California than worrying about these issues, we'd all be better off. It was wonderful to see. It was great. Pam Bondi's going to do a great job.
Yeah, she's got these lunatics wrapped around her finger, and they also tried these bullying tactics on her. And here was the response. Have a look.
The next question you can speak, and I hope you answer, Ms. Bondi.
Well, I'd like to answer the previous one, Senator.
When we met yesterday,
you pointed your finger at me and said
you did not
you were
seem
speaking.
to be familiar
Let me answer
with
my question.
The
I'm not going to be bullied by you,
clause, the
Senator
14th
Padilla.
Amendment. You tell me in this committee what the citizenship clause of the 14th Amendment says.
Senator, I'm here to answer your questions. I'm not here to do your homework and study for you. If I am confirmed as Attorney
You're the one
General,
asking for a confirmation
hey,
vote,
you
ma'am.
cut me off. Can I please finish?
What does the 14th Amendment say?
Senator, the 14th Amendment, we all know, addresses birthright citizenship. I've been a state prosecutor. I've been a state AG.
Yeah, she just handled herself with so much grace there. I just think she's fantastic. But look, let's move on because Donald Trump's nominee for Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, has warned that a dangerous China cheated its way to superpower status and described it as the most potent and dangerous near-peer adversary this nation has ever faced. Have a look.
If we stay on the road we're on right now, in less than 10 years, virtually everything that matters to us in life will depend on whether China will allow us to have it or not. Everything from the blood pressure medicine we take to what movies we get to watch, and everything in between, we will depend on China for it. They have come to dominate the critical mineral industry supplies throughout the world, Everywhere in the world, they've now established critical mineral rights. Even those who want to see more electric cars, no matter where you make them, those batteries are almost entirely dependent on the ability of the Chinese and the willingness of the Chinese Communist Party to produce it and export it to you.
No doubt he's going to be a very strong Secretary of State. What do you make of those comments?
Yeah, first of all, I was in China last week, and it's a scary place to be. Everywhere you go are cameras. You go to the subway. Literally, as you put your ticket into the subway toll booth, there's literally cameras that you're looking at. They're doing facial recognition. You see the square around your face. It's a scary, scary fascist place. It is the most potent and dangerous enemy we have, and he recognized that. First of all, I want to say that it seems to me now that all of the obstinance of the Democrats to Trump's nominees seem to be melting away. I'm glad to see it. I don't think it's in small part because the polling that they see also, and the last polling we saw just came out a few days ago, that President Trump is now on a percentage basis 25% ahead of Joe Biden. No shock there. But what I think we see here, and the important takeaway here, is that when you look at a person like Marco Rubio, you see that Trump is not going to be an isolationist, right? That's what people kept saying. That being America first and being engaged in the world are not mutually exclusive. Trump and his nominees understand the threats that we face, whether it be China or Russia or Iran or Hamas. They know it, they understand it, they want to engage it. This is not an isolationist. It wasn't the first term, it will not be the second term. It's a robust, a diverse administration that I think will put the world in a better place. No question about it.
No, I completely agree with you. You're absolutely spot on. Now, I want to talk to you about Meta because Mark Zuckerberg is apparently facing a revolt of sorts from staff who are just so furious about his, quote, MAGA makeover. This, of course, comes after the Facebook founder said that there was too much censorship on Facebook as well as Instagram. And I had to laugh here. One employee said it's total chaos internally at Meta right now. I'd call the mood shock and disbelief. I mean, you've just got to laugh, don't you? It's just funny.
No, it's great. It's wonderful. It's rich. I want to see what they're going to say because Mark Zuckerberg is actually going to the inauguration. And I think it's going to be wonderful to see him sitting next to Elon Musk, which is the plan. Look, I don't blame the guy. He's looking out for his own interests, right? He understands what's happening in the next 4 years. He wants to get ahead of it. And I think it's all great. I think I want less censorship. I mean, I think all of us, including your company, you personally, I'm sure, me personally, saw the effects of censorship on our own social media. So have that turn around, have a more open discussion, allowing us to have our views and not be censored is a great thing. I think it's a wonderful. And all these idiots who work for these social media companies who are leftists, yeah, screw you.
We put it beautifully, as always. Avi Horowitz, nice to chat to you. Thank you very much for joining me on the show this evening.
Always a pleasure.